Glenn and Marla Carson lived behind a picture-perfect facade, but every quiet smile and freshly painted wall hid a life built on fraud, secrecy, and a reckless belief that no law could ever touch them. The Carsons appeared to be a perfectly normal family, the kind that waved politely to neighbors and decorated their yard for every holiday. Their two-story house set neatly at the end of a cul-de-sac, its white paint always fresh and the lawn clipped with precision. From a distance, it was easy to believe they were model citizens. Yet, behind the trimmed hedges and glowing windows, a subtle tension lingered that no one could quite name. Neighbors noticed little things first. A car parked sideways across two spots for days without moving. Construction noises after midnight that rattled the quiet street. Garbage bins left overflowing until animals scattered trash across the sidewalks. Complaints to the homeowners association brought no change. The Carsons would simply smile and promise to take care of it, but nothing ever happened. At first, these odd behaviors were dismissed as quirks. Maybe they were busy. Maybe they had their reasons, but the pattern grew too consistent to ignore. Delivery trucks arrived at odd hours and left without dropping anything off. Strangers came and went through the side gate carrying heavy black bags. Packages piled up on the porch, some left unopened. For weeks, a few residents tried to confront the family directly, but the conversations never led anywhere. The Carsons remained polite yet distant, offering vague explanations and ending the discussion with a quick change of subject. The police were called more than once for the late-night disturbances, but each time an officer knocked on their door, the noise mysteriously stopped. No citations stuck, no follow-up visits occurred. It was as if the family knew exactly how to bend the rules without breaking them outright. Slowly, the neighborhood learned that reporting them accomplished nothing. People began to avoid eye contact when passing the Carson house, pretending not to notice the strange activity. Despite the outward calm, unease spread like a quiet infection. Parents told children not to play too close to the Carson property. Joggers crossed the street when they saw movement behind the curtains. The air around the home felt heavy, as if it held secrets too dangerous to speak aloud. What no one realized was that these small disturbances, parking violations, sleepless nights, unanswered questions were merely the surface of something far more serious. The Carsons had built a life on ignoring boundaries, and their confidence grew with every unchecked act. Long before the authorities uncovered the truth, the family had already convinced themselves that the rules were made for everyone else, never for them. Years before the neighborhood began whispering, the Carsons had already built a hidden empire by quietly ignoring every regulation that might slow them down. Glenn Carson, the family patriarch, discovered early that he could earn more by cutting corners than by following the law. He purchased small, run-down houses in cash and rented them out without permits or safety inspections. Tenants paid only in cash, leaving no paper trail for tax authorities. Glenn treated each property as a secret asset, moving ownership between shell names whenever questions arose. His quiet confidence made it easy for him to operate undetected, and his wife, Marla, proved to be just as calculating. Marla managed the paperwork that kept their growing network invisible. She forged signatures, manipulated county records, and even created false inspection documents when curious officials asked for proof of compliance. Her skill with details turned what could have been a risky venture into something that looked, on the surface, completely legitimate. To outside eyes, they were simply a hardworking couple with a knack for investments. Inside their home, they laughed at the idea of permits, taxes, or safety codes. Each forgery became a small victory, reinforcing their belief that the system could never catch them. Their children, Eric and Lila, grew up watching these schemes unfold like lessons in survival. By the time they were teenagers, they could spot loopholes in contracts and alter receipts without hesitation. Eric specialized in digital deception, creating websites for non-existent businesses and transferring money through hidden online accounts. Lila handled the personal touches, coordinating under-the-table repairs, bribing minor officials with small but persuasive gifts, and keeping tenants quiet with promises of discounted rent. They were not rebellious children pressured into crime. They embraced it as a family tradition, learning early that outsmarting the rules brought quick rewards. The Carsons treated each successful scam as proof of superiority. They celebrated when they evaded tax filings, joked about inspectors who left empty-handed, and expanded their network with increasing boldness. Their confidence hardened into something close to arrogance. To them, laws were simply puzzles meant to be solved or sidestepped. Friends who once questioned their methods drifted away, replaced by contacts willing to overlook the illegal for a share of the profits. By the time the neighborhood began to notice late-night trucks and mysterious visitors, the Carsons had already built a self-sustaining system of fraud. They believed no authority could untangle the maze they had created, and for many years, that belief seemed entirely correct. The unraveling of the Carson empire began with an event no one could have predicted, a violent summer storm that swept across the county. Heavy rain and sudden lightning tore through the region, ripping shingles from rooftops and flooding basements. One of Glenn's unregistered rental properties, a neglected house hidden behind tall hedges on the edge of town, took the brunt of the damage. A massive tree branch crashed through the roof, exposing faulty wiring and unstable walls. Neighbors called emergency services when sparks flickered through the broken windows, and firefighters rushed to prevent a full-scale blaze. What they found inside set off alarms far beyond the fire department. The interior of the house was a dangerous maze of illegal modifications. Staircases were built without support beams, and electrical lines twisted like vines, patched together with tape instead of proper connectors. When inspectors arrived the next morning, they discovered that the property had no valid permits and no registered owner under its current address. The mailbox nameplate read L. Dawson, a person who did not exist. Investigators began digging, tracing tax records and utility bills, but every trail ended in a false lead. Phone numbers were disconnected, leases unsigned, and payment records non-existent. News of the hazardous property reached county regulators, who were determined to identify whoever was responsible. But when officials sent formal notices to the addresses linked to the house, envelopes came back marked undeliverable. Glenn and Marla had anticipated scrutiny and moved faster than anyone expected. Within days, the family transferred bank balances into multiple shadow accounts and began selling off other properties using a network of false identities. They shifted vehicles between states, closed post office boxes, and deleted entire chains of email communications. Each step made it harder to track them, but it also drew more attention to the complexity of their operations. What began as a routine safety investigation evolved into a multi-agency probe. Financial crime specialists joined building inspectors, and soon federal investigators became involved. While the Carsons maintained their outward calm, shopping, attending community events, and smiling at neighbors, they were secretly dismantling their paper empire and preparing for a larger escape. They believed they were staying ahead of the authorities, but their frantic moves left behind small inconsistencies: a mistyped address on a property transfer, a sudden surge of cash deposits flagged by a vigilant bank employee. Those overlooked details would become the first real cracks in a scheme that had seemed untouchable for years. Investigators quietly widened their net, determined to uncover the Carsons' next move before the family could vanish completely. Months of discreet surveillance revealed a bold new scheme. Rather than lie low, Glenn and Marla decided to convert their hidden profits into physical assets that could be moved across borders. Expensive antiques, rare clocks, gilded mirrors, and centuries-old furniture became their latest obsession. These items could be purchased in cash, shipped in containers, and sold overseas for untraceable income. Eric handled the digital side, creating a web of fake buyers and forged shipping manifests. Lila, skilled at charm and negotiation, scouted rural auctions where few questions were asked. The family believed this plan would secure their wealth beyond the reach of government agencies. They underestimated how closely they were being watched. Investigators placed plainclothes agents near every auction house within driving distance, using hidden cameras and license plate scanners to track the Carsons' movements. One evening, surveillance teams followed the family to a quiet country estate hosting a private sale. From a distance, agents observed Eric carrying envelopes bulging with cash and handing them to a dealer known for bending rules. Lila inspected crates marked for international storage, their contents deliberately mislabeled as household goods. Behind the scenes, analysts were piecing together years of fraud. Bank records showed sudden spikes of deposits followed by immediate withdrawals. Storage facilities under false names revealed collections of stolen property and carefully wrapped bundles of currency. Shell companies traced back to the Carsons operated under layers of fabricated identities. The case shifted from local code violations to a major financial crime investigation with federal interest. When warrants were finally issued, authorities moved swiftly but cautiously, aware of the family's history of evasion. They planned simultaneous raids on properties, storage units, and the Carson home to prevent any last-minute escape. Meanwhile, the Carsons prepared their final getaway. Late at night, moving trucks backed into their driveway, and neighbors once again heard the scrape of heavy furniture being dragged across floors. Glenn and Marla intended to leave the country within days, confident that their carefully hidden assets would keep them comfortable abroad. Their confidence collapsed when a neighbor, weary of the endless disturbances, noticed unfamiliar trucks arriving after midnight and called the local sheriff. Deputies arrived earlier than expected, spotting suspicious activity and alerting the task force. Within hours, the family's meticulously timed departure unraveled. Agents surrounded the house as dawn broke, setting in motion the capture that would end the Carsons' long belief that they were untouchable. The arrests unfolded in a tense but methodical sweep just as the sun rose. Officers blocked every exit from the cul-de-sac while federal agents approached the Carson home in silence. Inside, the family was still loading crates of antiques and sealed boxes stuffed with cash. Glenn tried to stall by refusing to open the door, but a battering ram ended the delay within seconds. Marla stood frozen at the base of the stairs as agents poured into the house, reading out warrants for financial crimes, tax evasion, and fraud. Eric attempted to destroy a laptop, but an agent seized it before he could pull the cord. Lila clutched a backpack filled with passports bearing names that were not their own. As investigators moved through the property, they discovered far more than hidden antiques. Beneath a trapdoor in the basement, a narrow tunnel led to a concealed storage room packed with stolen goods, rare jewelry, counterfeit documents, and bundles of currency wrapped in plastic. Walls were lined with false panels that opened to reveal compartments of evidence, forged inspection records, unreported deeds, and ledgers detailing years of illegal transactions. The sheer scale of the operation stunned even seasoned agents. What had begun as neighborhood complaints about noise and parking violations now exposed a sophisticated financial network stretching across several states. Court proceedings began quickly, drawing intense public attention. Prosecutors presented a mountain of evidence: photographs of the hidden tunnel, recordings from undercover surveillance, and bank records showing millions in unreported income. Neighbors filled the courtroom, eager to see justice after years of uneasy coexistence with the seemingly perfect family. Reporters captured every detail, from Glenn's stone-faced silence to Marla's occasional smirk as testimony unfolded. Eric and Lila sat expressionless, their calm only breaking when the prosecution revealed messages proving their roles in laundering money through online accounts. When the verdict arrived, it was decisive. The entire family was found guilty on multiple counts of tax fraud, forgery, and conspiracy to commit financial crimes. Sentences ranged from lengthy prison terms to heavy fines designed to dismantle any hidden reserves. Even then, the Carsons showed no remorse. They listened to the judge's condemnation with the same quiet arrogance that had carried them through years of deceit. The final ruling echoed through the packed courtroom. Believing that laws do not apply does not make it so. The Carsons left in handcuffs, their once proud empire reduced to evidence boxes, their story a lasting warning of how unchecked arrogance can destroy everything built upon it.